WeSurf is recorded at the NewsStand studio at Rockefeller Center in the heart of Manhattan and is distributed by the Swell Season Surf Radio Network.
And we are back, everyone. Thank you so much for coming in. I know it's been a while, and I am Kwame, and I'm here with Nigel, and we together are the WeSurf podcast. I know it has been a while for us, so thank you again so much for sticking with us. But it's just been busy. Life has been lifing. Kwame has been Kwame, Nigel's been Nigel-ing. Station has been stationing. There have been trips to Costa Rica, trips to Puerto Rico, documentaries, life-changing events happening all over the place. But, we are back, and we promise you that we're not going to wait this long for us to come back. So thank you again for sticking with us.
Yeah, thank you guys. We definitely missed doing this. And although this one is not on video, the future ones will be, but we thought it was important. We didn't want to keep you guys waiting much longer because we have a lot of good content, a lot of good stuff that we want to keep bringing to the table around surf, around minority surfing, around women surfing, it's just everything. And we want to make sure,
surfing.
Yeah. We want to make sure that we get those voices out there, talking to the personalities and faces. Some of them we know, some of them we don't know. Just keeping engaged to let it, I guess the world know that that we're here, we surf, and hopefully we could change the face of what conceptually surfing has been thought as. So,
and we're not going anywhere. It may take a little bit of a time, but we're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. So.
Yeah. Anything going on with you, Kwame, since last? I know we've been touching base a little bit, but
there's been a lot happening. Like I said, for me personally, we had the documentary showing of Wade in the Water at Rockaway.
Amazing.
I actually saw it the first time in California, and then I flew out. Then I brought them out to Rockaway for it to be seen, and then we're also working on it being shown in Puerto Rico at the International Surf Therapy Organization,
Amazing.
Part of which I'm a member of the board for. There have been things happening with La Rubea. Hopefully we'll be able to get Aiden and Warren on the show at some point. Some things going on with in Costa Rica, which I'm going to, not saying too much about that yet because I'm not trying to jinx it, but hopefully that'll work out well with us. So just to give you a little bit of a nugget, get your board shorts and your rash guard ready, folks, because we might be going to Costa Rica.
Nice. Your life has definitely sounded a lot more interesting than mine.
No, I've been there for a lot of your things as well. So.
Over those. Yeah, it's been an interesting year. There's definitely, summer came and went so quickly. I thought that this is probably the craziest summer. We've had a good run of waves for the last month or so.
5 hurricanes, something like
that? Yeah. Rockaway definitely got some swells, so we're stoked. Hopefully everyone got a chance to get in the water. The shop is just grinding away, doing the entrepreneur, business owner thing, which is tough in itself. And then mixing that in with dad life, that's definitly also a stretch.
No, you can't just drop that. You got to say it properly. Come on.
But
come on. You got to say
dad
it properly.
life.
All right, here you go.
And all you dads out there know how that is. Just trying to manage the little one and surfing and then business, and it is what it is. But the truth is, I couldn't picture myself really doing anything else. This is what I love. I say this all the time, but we open Station to just kind of be a station for people who love surfing and want to get stoked on surfing, and we want to keep providing that crack and making sure that they get addicted to it and have the same enjoyment that we all have. So I've said it before, but thank you guys for just kind of rocking with us and sticking with us as we go through this. I'm so excited that we're back on air, and we want to thank Tyler.
Yes, definitely.
And the whole crew for giving us this platform to speak. So today we have a pretty interesting gentleman, someone that I call a friend. I've known him for a little while. He's definitely the solid friend of Station. And, I know a little bit about this young man, but I kind of am excited to share him with you guys and learn a little bit more about what he's doing and just about him and the project that he's working on, which is a little bit close to home for me personally. But just in general, I think he has a lot of cool things in the hopper that's coming up, and I'm stoked to hear a little bit more about him. But we have with us today Mosiah Moonsammy. I'm not slaughtering your name, right?
The last name. You got the first one down.
Moonsammy.
Say it again.
Moonsammy.
Moonsammy. Sound like a moon sandwich. Okay. A Moonsammy.
The amount of times I've heard that one.
Yeah, man. So we, as this platform of WeSurf, we like bringing people on that we think are interesting, that's contributing to the movement, not just, in Rockaway or on the East Coast, but also of people of color, and giving a different perspective to surfing than what may be out there. And Mosiah, and I'll probably slaughter some of your accolades, but documentary filmmaker. I know you're a good dancer because, when we launched the store, you were down there. Just a super talented individual. I've had the pleasure of being in this place and kind of being around some of the people that he associates with. And I can tell you it's amazing kind of the creativity that I've seen within that group. And I love being around that, just thinkers and people who are doing things that creatively that makes me want to, it kind of gets my juices flowing. It makes me want to kind of keep pushing forward. So yeah, what I would like to do is just kind of have you, maybe Mosiah, introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? What's your story? When did you start surfing? Just let us know a little bit more about yourself for those of you who haven't met you yet.
Sure, yeah. Thank you for the introduction. And thank you for Kwame and Nigel for having me on the show. So I'm Mosiah. I'm originally from Florida, and I got into surfing when I was 9 years old. And skating and surfing was my world for 3 years. And then I quit. I quit for a number of reasons, but primarily I quit because of just the insecurities of no representation and the stereotypes of what I should be doing as a young black boy in Florida. And more to my background is that I've been a filmmaker. I've been in New York City for about 15 years at this point, and New York is home. Outside of Florida, my family is from Brooklyn, so New York City has always been my second home, and now, thankfully, it's my first home.
Okay, amazing.
So I've had conversations with you, Mosiah. Those of you who heard, was it the previous podcast? We had Bain and David on there, and I've actually been in a car with you and Bain, Mosiah, and the two of you start talking about documentary making and filmmaking, and I was just driving, listening to the two of you, and I was like in awe. So, because what really got you into filmmaking, and specifically documentary filmmaking?
Yeah, so I got into filmmaking because I just wasn't getting any work as an actor. I really started off in the business acting, and I just couldn't get any opportunities. And after many years of not getting in the room, of not getting any opportunities, it was really just that level of hunger of like, I want to do this. So if I have to do this, then I may have to be the person that is writing and directing and creating my own work. And really that led me into my first short, which my short led into commercials led into series led into music videos, and then ultimately led into documentaries.
Okay, because I actually did if I get the name incorrectly, please correct me, but the last Bodega in Brooklyn?
That's correct.
Right. So I signed up to specifically watch that one, and I loved it. So again, shout out. So those of you who are listening, Google it, or at the end of the show we can put in the show notes where they can find the link to it, because that's definitely a good documentary, and it hits home because it's all of us we're New Yorkers, and if you're not a New Yorker, trust me, it'll still resonate with you.
Yeah, you know what? I saw snippets of that. I would be lying if I said I've actually seen it, but now I'm gonna make some efforts to definitely watch it. So we're gonna get into surfing because we're definitely a surf podcast. So I want to make sure that we talk about that. But I'm curious about passion, like what drives you around the filmmaking piece. What kind of projects do you enjoy working on? What things are you looking for that makes you kind of think like, what, this would be an interesting topic for me to follow? How do you go about that process of kind of picking? Because I'm a documentary buff. Like, I love watching documentaries, just because I think I'm also a little bit of a knowledge geek. So I like to just learn stuff, and I don't know that I necessarily always want to read it. So watching it makes it, a little bit easier. But how do you pick a topic? How do you pick things that you think are worth people spending their time to watch?
So the first thing for me is always being driven by, I always have to be driven by my curiosity. I can never do anything that doesn't begin from that place. And when I'm curious about something, the curiosity for me has to lead into an obsession, something I feel like I have to do. I'm thinking about it all day. I'm thinking about it right before I go to bed. I'm thinking about it in the morning. And so I know I'm starting to go into the right trail. Now, part of I would say the trend for me is I tend to like doing things with underrepresented voices. I tend to like to do subcultures, which I've just seen in my work. My body of work dictates that. That's not something that I'm consciously thinking about. I'm like, who is not being heard that I need to tell a story about? It's just what I keep on seeing as being a repetitive theme. And so once I have this thing of curiosity that drives me deeply into an obsession, and I'm along the path of really wanting to tell something where it doesn't feel like it's a choice anymore, it feels like I have to, I know I found the right thing.
Okay, cool. So this leads to kind of the next question, which it definitely is close to me. So a while back now, I'll qualify our relationship a little bit. So for those of you who don't know Mosiah, I met him probably a few years ago, and he came in the station and the surf shop, and I don't remember if I met you just randomly or if you came in for a locker specifically, and because you were looking for a place to store your board. And I just kind of would see you come in, off and on. I knew nothing about you. I knew nothing about what you did. But I knew that you kept showing up and just going surfing, I also knew that you were pretty particular, which is a trait I guess now is important to be a filmmaker. And you came to me, I can't remember how long ago it was, and you were like, hey, I'm interested in doing a project around the store, kind of telling the story. For those of you who know me, I'm pretty humble. Like, I don't, I do what I do because I love it and because I want to see other people get happy. I don't really talk about myself too much. I honestly don't even really care, to be honest, which is in business not necessarily a good thing. You got to
I'm always the one arguing with him, telling him post something on Instagram, post it to Instagram, it to Instagram, and then his response is, "Oh, I got to fix this board because this person's coming tomorrow to get their board."
But I thought it was interesting, and then I'm starting to kind of as a business owner, and I kind of started this thing just on a whim, right? Yes, I took some business classes and I have a lot of background in the industry, but I still kind of didn't know what I was doing. But I knew kind of one thing that's important is marketing. And in my head, I'm like, well, if this guy wants to do something about the store and about me, I'm not going to say no. That this kind of makes sense. And then I had the pleasure of working with you and going through the project, and we have some other people who we brought in kind of from the neighborhood that were like regulars at the station. And I guess my question for you is, why me? Why the store? Why that story? And we'll get into it some more, but I'm just kind of curious why you even approached me about it to begin with.
Sure. Yeah. So I've actually been in the Rockaway community, and just in terms of being a visitor, going out there and partaking in surf life and beach life for 9 years. And when I got to Rockaway, I immediately knew Rockaway was magical. I immediately the aesthetic, the people, the culture of it. I said, "Oh, I'm gonna make a film about something out here," and I had no idea what it was gonna be about and how I was gonna tell the story. But I knew at some point the story was gonna be told. After about several years surfing Rockaway, I actually just stumbled into your store because the first store that I went into, surf shop, was Borders. And it was okay. I didn't end up renting a locker or do anything there, but I knew I wanted to eventually store my board somewhere because I'm coming from, at that point, I was coming from Queens. I wasn't coming from Brooklyn. And I had to take a bus. I was taking a bus with a surfboard, which is an awful experience. If you think it's bad on the subway, a bus is a whole other level.
Yeah.
And so one of the guys that I knew was like, yo, you should check out Station. I said, okay, cool. I walked into Station, and when I tell you, it's like one of those things when you experience something so powerful, it's almost like what you see in movies when you see one character fall in love with another character.
What's it called? A meet cute?
Yeah. You know, like they slow it down, the music. So for me, I walked into Station, and it was either Bob Marley or Tupac. I forgot which song was playing. I remember the music, and I remember this not being like a typical music that I would hear in a surf shop. And I remember smelling incense. I remember the decoration in there. And I was like, I've never been in a surf shop like this in my life. So immediately I was enamored. Now, eventually, when I found out that Nigel, a brother, especially a West Indian brother, owns it, I was like, done. Like, I was hyped. Because I was like, I have never experienced. And so prior to that, those couple years that I was surfing prior to Station, I was just dabbling. Like, I'd go out once a month, once every couple months, not really any time in the water to like be an avid surfer. Just kind of like surfing is like a hobby and something you do every once in a while. Once I came across Station and I came across you, from that point, I wanted to be in the community. And so I started showing up more at Station. I started asking questions. I felt very comfortable asking you, hey, Nigel, how do I get better at surfing like this? What type of surfboard should I use? I just felt like because I was in reflection of somebody like me, I wasn't worrying about looking silly. I wasn't worried about looking dumb. I wasn't worried about, as we call in the surf world, looking like a kook. I felt that I could just tell Nigel anything, and Nigel was basically and is an OG. So I could be like, yo, man, like how do I like do this? And I started to learn that. And then through that, I met several important people there. And those several important people are Paul, is Farmy, is Autumn, and who is the basketball player that used to always be there? Will. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would just talk to these
Will
people.
Smooth.
And I liked everybody. You know, I could go into Station and I could go surf for 2 hours and I could hang out at Station for an hour and a half just in conversation. And then I'd meet customers and we start talking and they'd be like, yo, you in Brooklyn? I'm in Brooklyn. What you do? I'm a photographer. I'm a filmmaker. And so the Station really became a community. And at that point, through the course of several years, because it didn't happen immediately, over the course of several years, I was an observer. And I was an observer and I wanted to watch everyone. And I wanted to see what was the feel here, what was the overall vibration. And at that point, I knew I had my story. That was my story. My story centered around, and does center around, you, right, Nigel, and centers around Station Surf Shop, because there is no other place in the world like that. And I know that may sound like an exaggerated statement, just so for the audience that understands, I have surfed everywhere from Puerto Rico to Barbados to Bali to Costa Rica to Australia. I have been in all sorts of surf shops. I have never been in a surf shop that, one, sure, it is a big deal that a black man owns a surf shop, which is like one out of like, if you could find another one, please let us know, because I don't even know if it exists anywhere else. But the second thing is the welcoming, guys. Surf shops and surf culture, if you guys know this, especially to the audience that are surfers, you guys know when you go into surf shops, they're not welcoming. They're just kind of like, yeah, figure it out, man, and like, good luck, and like, catch some waves, bro. Like, they're like not hands-on. Like, they're just like, go do your thing, which isn't a bad thing, but it doesn't make you feel like community. You don't want to hang there. You just want to grab your board, do your thing, and get out. And so I say all that because that is the importance of telling a film like this. I feel like Nigel and the station community have cultivated a community where if you live in New York, we got to take the train. And when you're taking the train, the hustle and bustle of the city, it is a lot because we're around all these different energies. Nigel creates an environment where you feel relaxed. You're away from the city. You get to run into people. You get to catch some waves, and you get to talk to people. And it takes you out of this world of madness because it brings you in a level of comfortability, ease, and people that you want to be around.
Yeah, I mean, someone told me one time, and it's what I always take it to heart. They said, station is not just a shop. Station is a movement. And I remember at the day they told me that, Nigel, I think I walked into the shop and I told you that, and you just looked at me and you shrugged your shoulders and you're like, yeah, I guess so. And I was like, you see, oh God, this guy and his humbleness, jeez. Yeah. But no, I mean, Mosiah, that was very succinctly put. One of the things which always gets me with station when I walk in there is, and Nigel, you've seen me do it. If I walk in there and for some reason like the speakers aren't playing, like first thing I'll do is I'll go in and turn the music on. Let's put on some music. Let's make sure people can hear the music from outside, because we want to make sure people understand that when you come into station and as you walk into station, you feel that energy, you feel that vibe, you feel that welcome. And even on a day when it's flat, stop by and just talk shop and let's reminisce about the ways that just passed. Yeah. I've been there and bought coffee and said, hey, it's going to be a cold day. Let's make sure people get some coffee as they walk in. And then a lot of times the people walk in and they're like, oh, who's that for? Like, it's for you guys. Go ahead, take it. I don't drink coffee. Go ahead, take it.
Yeah,
so.
Man. What's crazy is that first, Mosiah, thank you. I kind of really appreciate that. And I think people who set out to build something, they don't always kind of get the feedback. And I had to take the time to really kind of appreciate it. So I really thank you for that, because what you described is exactly what I wanted to create. And sometimes when you get caught up in the day-to-day grind of like, you got to pay the bills, the rent's late, this is happening, you lose track of the fact that you're doing this thing that's affecting so many other people, and it's exactly what I wanted to do. And I've been criticized for it, and I've been said it's a good thing. But at the end of the day, for me, it's retail is almost like secondary. You need it because, yes, I want to make some money and, take care of myself. But the community is what I'm hoping will drive the retail, right? And I'm glad that it's working out that way and people are kind of getting to see it, because to me, that's what surfing is, and there's territorialism in some places, and there's, everything has different paths, but the path that I'm choosing with this is more inclusive and saying, hey, I don't care if you're a beginner. I don't care if you rip. I mean, we should be able to talk about surfing, because at its core, riding a wave makes both of us happy. And I'd almost dare to say it makes the beginner almost happier, because they're being blown away. Like I go out now and I surf and I have a good time. But when I look at people who are like catching their first wave, or it's their first couple of weeks or their first couple of months, they're just in that zone that I was in when I started, so
Yeah, you never want to lose that beginner
Yeah,
mentality.
yeah.
You never want to lose that beginner stoke, because
Yeah.
after a while, what they say, waves are measured in increments of fear.
Yeah.
And then, when the excitement, like a lot of times when I'm working with students and I tell them, I remember when I was actually able to turn and go left on my first wave.
Yeah.
You would have sworn I just got barreled at
Yeah.
pipeline. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. It was like a little 1 foot dribbler, but I was yelling so hard because I was able to actually figure out how to turn my board and go. So that beginner mentality is definitely key.
Yeah, and I think having a space where you feel comfortable is also kind of a big deal. And I'm happy that, you felt that way when you walked in there. For us, it's all about the energy, right? So music is actually really important at Station. I think making sure that the TV is playing, and, like I can talk tech, like I can talk about the new board and what Rocker does and all that. But honestly, when people, half the time, people just want to feel like they're part of something, like it's like a club and they walk in and they're like, oh, I know that guy behind the counter. And, that's kind of what I've been looking to accomplish this whole time, and really just kind of get people stoked on surfing. So, thank you for kind of acknowledging that. I appreciate that. What I guess I've been trying to accomplish is working,
So let me take this one.
Yeah, go for it.
So what you described, you described it really, really passionately. And, we know that it's not just the filmmaking, but then the surfing, and then connecting the two apparently is a passion. So, but with everything that you pour your heart and your soul into, Nigel, Station, you and I work very closely with Station. Some of the projects I'm working on, there's always a challenge. There are always challenges with it. So what are some of the challenges that you've faced with this, as you've been making the film? And what are some of the things that you just like, despite the challenges, that you enjoy?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest challenges for the film has been finances. Man, when I say we have literally scrapped tooth and nail, first of all, to get the project made. I don't think people realize that it costs significant money to make any piece of film, especially long form content. And so that was huge. And now the challenges of the financial component to finishing, which is post-production. So we finished production, it is complete, but we've been in this limbo of fully getting the finances to go ahead into a post-production house and start getting it complete. So I would say that's one. I'm here to create art, and I'm here to uplift the community, right? And what do I mean by that? I mean that there are people like Nigel, there are people like Kwame, there are people like Aiden who have come before me and have met many challenges, whether that be through the predominant sport of it being white males who have not been welcoming in the water and have broke down barriers and challenges. So for people in my generation, we feel a little bit more free for that. My intention, my goal is to service and highlight that. I want to make art and I want to uplift people.
Yeah, very powerful. We spoke about what the challenges were, but what's some of the positive things? Because I always like to end something on a positive energy. So what's some of the things in the project that were unexpected, that you're like, oh my God, I didn't expect this to happen, but this was so good?
I think what happened for me is I got close. I got close to all you guys. I got for me, right? Like I got a chance to learn more about Nigel, right? Like our friendships all developed, right? Like as opposed to like seeing each other, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? You doing good? And you kind of like just have like that surface level conversation. But now like I know way more about you, Kwame. Like we've hung out several times. Nigel, we've hung out. We've gone out together. We've gone to wave pool. We have real time in the paint as friends, and so these bonds have been created. So I would say I have genuine friends from the Rockaway community that I've grown much closer to, and also at this point get to travel with. Shout out to Autumn and Farmy and Paul, who are homies who have gone out of the country and gone to different states and surfed with. So that is completely new for me. And that is a major, major positivity of doing this project.
Right on. So for those of you who couldn't see, so because we're not recording this one, so you didn't see what Mosiah did, but in New York, we have a certain head nod thing between surfers. So if we see a surfer that we know, but we don't necessarily talk to, we give him an up head nod. But if it's somebody we don't know, then we give them a down head nod. So if you ever come out to Rockaway or you're surfing in New York, if you just remember that's etiquette that we add into the lines as well. So the upwards head nod is if it's someone you know but not too well, and the downward head nod is somebody that you really don't know.
And we will be right back. And now, back to our show.
But what I didn't ask you, and probably the audience is going, this is all cool, but what is the project?
Yes.
Like, what is it? What are you making?
Yeah.
If you want to just summarize that and let us know why we'd want to check it out, or, what is it?
Yeah, so I'm doing a documentary that centers around Nigel Station Surf Shop and Black surfers in New York City. And this project really shows my connection in getting back and re-inspired into the surf world and the community that Nigel has harnessed and some of the really melanated, dope surfers out in Far Rockaway.
Okay. All right, cool.
Can you give us a little preview of the name of the project?
No, it's untitled.
Oh, okay.
It's untitled. So
Okay.
I've
To
been
be
calling it
coming.
Black Surfers in the Concrete Jungle, but that won't be the final name that I
Okay.
have. It's a working title.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about, I got a title for you if you would like it.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. I'm here for options.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kwame and the Station Surf Shop.
Kwame.
No?
So
Okay,
yes,
well,
yes.
it's worth a try.
Yeah.
It's worth a try.
So
Try.
I know that I've seen some clips of the project. I'm kind of stoked. I know that you touched base and got a little bit deep dive into the lives of myself, of Farmy, of Quest, of Paul, and just kind of what it is to surf Rockaway and to live out here and to be connected to the station and how that's been a conduit for them to do these other things. So I'm actually kind of stoked to see the finished piece. Where we know where you're at right now, but how can we, so you said that right now, just funding has been the most difficult thing because it takes a lot to kind of produce and edit and all that kind of stuff. How can people support you? Where can they go want to check out the project if they just want to see? I know that there's a snippet out there that kind of tells a general story, but how can we support you or people support you in kind of getting this film done, which I would love to see?
Yeah, so anybody out there that wants to go ahead and see this project in detail, see a clip, see what's going on, get updates, go ahead to Instagram and follow the Melanated Swells page. From there, you'll go ahead and click in the bio, and in the bio is going to take you to a link to a GoFundMe page, and there's going to have all the details and the clip of the project.
Yeah, man, we'll make sure to put the link in the show notes as well, so they'll find it there as well. And again, just to piggyback off of that as well, like I said, I've seen the documentary Wade in the Water 3 times, I believe. I've seen it 3 times already. And I mean, I love Bayan. I love David. They did an amazing job on this thing. It's winning awards all over the world. However, it's the West Coast. And I think that we can do something like that on the East Coast as well.
Yeah.
Not trying to restart the East Coast West Coast feud, mind
Yes.
you, but I think definitely that East Coast surfers, especially East Coast surfers of color, we have a particular vibe and a particular energy to us. There is I'm part of the Discord group for Black surfers, and I remember saying in it one time that we wear 5'4s when we need to go surf. Or sometimes I'll throw in a 6'5" if it's below 30 degrees, and the response I got back was 6'5". Oh my God, you guys are built differently.
Yeah.
So only we understand that.
Yes.
We understand that. And I know I saw snippets of the documentary as well, and some of it takes place in the winter.
Yeah.
So if you're an East Coast surfer, and especially an East Coast surfer of color, and you understand what it's like to put those boots on, and and oh my God, even just like trying to get your hair underneath a hood, just that alone is like crazy. Then yeah, definitely you should go support the project. And I'm glad you mentioned Melanie as well, because I was definitely going to ask you about that. But I guess my next question is, so we I mean, we're a surf podcast, so we speak a lot about surfing, of course. So what I have found is that surfing means something different to every single person. It means something to me and I can express that, but then even as I express it, still means something different in my heart. It means something different to Nigel. It means something different to anyone else. So for you, Mosiah, what does surfing mean to you?
Surfing is really a life lesson that constantly gives, right? There is no perfect day in surfing. Sometimes you go out and the conditions are blessing you, but you're not necessarily in the mind state to be right in those conditions. Sometimes the conditions aren't favorable, but it's one of your best days. Some days the conditions are awful and you're just kind of struggling to get out there. There's always an important gem to get from surfing, because surfing is really and truly a way of being and a way of life, where the ocean it's never fixed. It's constantly moving. It's constantly transforming. It is a representation of all living things on earth. And if you are present, which you have to be in surfing, then you will understand the different mechanisms, meaning that one moment you could be riding away, feel high on life and feel like you're on top of the world. The next moment you could be damn near drowning and thinking like, I might die because I don't know if I'm going to get up. This is life. This is life. This is for all living creatures. So for me, surfing is a reminding experience of lessons and the humility of how small I am comparison to all the living organisms on earth.
Yeah. So I think so there's a line from Point Break, the original, not the whatever that thing was that they made afterwards. But that's, when Keanu Reeves in the surf shop, and this is like my favorite line ever, when he says, the little kid says to him, hope you stick with it. Surfing's a sauce. It'll change your life. Swear to God. And so my question is, how has surfing changed your life?
I think it's changed my life because surfing to me is really healing, right? Like I use surfing to heal because I knew I loved surfing when I was a child. It was very clear. No one had to tell me it. I found it, and I found that thing. It really took 20-something years later and coming across Rockaway and then coming across Nigel and coming across Station to amplify that healing process and to understand by breaking down my own challenges and barriers that not only am I giving myself the space to heal, but how Nigel started the shop and didn't really know what he was doing by inspiring so many people, then by being a representation in the water, your own healing can be the healing for others, even if they just watch you do it.
And we will be right back. And now, back to our show.
My next question is, I think, a little bit broader. What do you hope to see? Now you've seen so many, you've come into contact with all these kind of like melanated surfers and people out there doing kind of what they love and getting good at it and getting noticed. What do you see the future as, or what would you like to see if you could write a script of what, like, just the future for Black surfers or people of color, minority surfers? What would be a good thing for you to see in the future, looking forward?
A good thing for me to see is more of us in the water. I feel like regardless of what you do out there, whether you're ripping or you're just paddling, and I'm already honestly seeing it. I see more and more Black people come out to Rockaway every year and getting on surfboards. So I see that it's been happening. So for me, the movie and the script would be, as it only started off with a few, it turned into a whole movement and it transcribed a whole culture. And we don't need Serena Williams. We don't need a Tiger Woods to go ahead and give us the permission to play tennis or to golf. We can be the everyday people that you can speak to and transform a whole group of people that say, you know what? I want to try this. Maybe I don't love this. Maybe I don't travel the world. Maybe I don't get obsessed with this, but I'm not afraid to do it because I see other people like me doing it.
Right. So we are approaching the part of the podcast, where we have the fast fire questions, and it's they're just going to be coming at you quick and fast. And then, once we're done, we're going to give you an opportunity, because I think this is something we're going to start now. Give you an opportunity if you have any questions that you want to ask Nigel or myself. It's always nice for us to get asked to see if anything that you think the public may want to know about us, and we would answer. So, first question, of course, is any shout outs, anybody that you would like to give. Just let them know that you're thinking about them and send the love out.
Yeah, I would say shout out to the Melanated Swells crew. Shout out to Farmy Autumn Bayan. Shout out to my mom for introducing me to surfing. Shout out to my pops for always supporting me in my filmmaking career. And really just shout out to the community that's embraced me. And shout out to you guys for the level of love and contribution to continually push it forward. Life is all life for us, as we know, and we still find time to come together so that way we can go ahead and do a higher purpose.
Can I just say, thank you for that, but can I just say I met your pops once, and I still remember having a conversation with him, and that's a strong brother, right?
Yes, facts.
His energy is like, it's there. You feel it when you're talking to him. So so I want to send a shout out to him as well, because I still remember the conversation I had with him.
Nice. Okay, surfing, Rockaway, 60s or 90s?
Man, honestly, I'm going 60s because I look, man, like I started off in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I do like the 90s, but here's the thing. The 90s is more of a scene. Like it's more of, I think the 90s is like look at me. Like look how great I am. The 60s is like we vibing. Like I almost feel like people cheer each other on in the 60s. Like it's
really?
like, yeah.
You're trying to get the man in trouble for it.
Yes.
You gotta have him security next time he comes down to Rockaway.
All right, no, that's good. I mean, I beg to differ, but it's all good.
Well, don't worry. I beg to differ with what he begs to differ with, so we're good with that. Don't worry, I got you.
When you hit out to Rockaway's favorite food spot, like where do you like to hit up to eat?
Pre-surf and post-surf.
Yeah, pre and post.
Oh man, I haven't been there some time. What's the like surf restaurant bar that has like the tacos and like
Surf Club?
Surf Club.
Rockaway Beach Surf Club. Okay.
Yeah, so those tacos,
those
tacos definitely hit. I would definitely say the Caribbean spot right next to the store.
Okay.
I like a lot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Best Caribbean is what it's called.
Best Caribbean. There you go. Yeah.
On 91st Street. Okay, so that's on the food side. Favorite place to get a drink? Rockaway is pretty much about the liquor. So
I don't drink. I'm not the guy.
My brother.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll let that one rock. When you come out there, if you're not surfing, what's one of your other favorite things to do?
And I really just love really walking on the boardwalk, and I also really love spending time on the beach and doing like picnics and just like grabbing a soccer ball, a football, playing some music, and just hanging out, just having like a beach day.
Okay, gotcha. What would you describe yourself as? Like, what's your level of surfing?
I would say my level of surfing is really intermediate. Surfing is one of those things where unless you're committed to it all the time, you're not getting better. And I've been stagnant for a very long time because my commitment level to surfing is not 3-4 times a week. And unless you're like committing 3-4 times a week, you're just not going to get better.
Okay, makes sense. What are you on now? What are you riding? What did you start on?
You know what? I'm actually riding everything.
Okay.
So funny enough, I started off on a mid-lane 7.6, and I was so adamant about going down to a shortboard. So I went to my 7.6, and then I did that hybrid. You remember that foam, kind of hard top? And that was like a 6.0, I believe, fish. And then I got good at that. And then I was like, all right, I'm ready for a shortboard. And I got that shortboard off of you. And then I just struggled. Like I was catching waves in Bali, but I felt like I was a beginner all over, which was super frustrating. And then I actually had a homie tell me in Hawaii, in Hawaiian surf culture, you're a surfer because based on the conditions is the board that you're taking out there. Yeah. Like you just don't take like you're the same. You read the conditions of the waves and you're like, this surfboard makes it's like your toolkit.
Yeah.
And when he explained that to me, he was like, look, man, you get good at surfing by knowing how to surf.
Yeah.
All boards. Like that's how you're gonna get good. And when he told me that, it clicked. And so I surf everything now. I surf everything. And honestly, it's made my skill set go through the roof because I surf I grab a board based on the conditions that dictates it.
Yeah.
I think sense. And that's actually a really good way to do it because I'm kind of similar along the lines with it. I mean, ideally, yes, I like to longboard, but I remember a few times, like during the hurricane swell we had that just passed, one day I took a foamy out on like an 8-foot day, and I was like, it's high tide, it's full moon, that's what it's going to need. And then another day I was on a shortboard, and people were like, well, you can actually use that? I said, just because I don't do it doesn't mean I can't. You know, two completely different things. I mean, I tried a table one time, and I got it to work, so hey, we'll do what we can do. You know, but I think that's actually really good advice for beginners because I know a lot of beginners get frustrated. I mean, there's one person I'm working with right now as a student, and I know they're starting to get a little frustrated with where they are. And I remember telling them that you are at that point where the frustration is going to kick in. You're at that point where we're not pushing you into waves, where you're paddling for your own wave, you're spotting your own wave, and you are going to miss a lot more than you get. Because you now have to figure out what's right for yourself and what's right for your body. Because I can give you the fundamentals, I can teach you the basics in surfing, but I cannot teach you to surf like me. Because we are two completely different people. You know, my arm span is a lot longer than yours. You're a much lighter person than I am. So for a lot of beginners out there, they get frustrated. So hearing that when you went to Bali, you know, you were on a different board and you began to get frustrated with this board, I think a lot of our beginners want to hear that, you say that, you know, you're an intermediate surfer, but then you switched to a different board and you began to get that frustration level until you switched to other boards and recognized what it was and just kept it moving. And now it's, hey, as long as I'm riding the sun's energy in liquid form, I'm good.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. Do you have any advice that you would give to maybe people listening that are they're just kind of surfing or just kind of started and you know, just what helped you when outside of surfing different boards, which you actually picked up later, but what has helped you to kind of keep going or just any tidbits that you have that could probably help?
And apart from come to Station Surf Shop.
Yeah.
I would say find mentors, just like anything. Find people that can give you solid advice. Don't be scared to ask questions, even if they seem very basic. And I would say the biggest thing is understand that surfing is very difficult. And you got to look stupid. Like you're it's a given. Don't think you're going to be out there looking cool. It's okay. It's trial and error. And really, really allow yourself that grace and really understand that it is about that level of consistency and being okay, being like, I'm going to fall on my face. This is like, I am not going to get this immediately. And go slow. Mm-hmm. Go slow. Don't try to like go down to like a 5.7, 30 volume, and then like it's a cool surfboard and you see the cool surfers ripping. Bro, you don't know the amount of experience that they've taken to get there. It is totally cool to ride a longboard, and it's totally cool to take your time learning how to read waves, knowing the safety so you don't get hurt or other people hurt, and understanding how to pop up correctly, because all those things are fundamental. And when you go out on bigger days, you are more at risk. Don't be at risk for yourself, and don't be at risk to other people.
Yeah.
Good. So I think we got about 4 minutes left in this. So Mosiah, do you have anything that you want to throw at Nigel and at myself? Do you want to pitch any questions at us?
Yes.
Anything you want to ask?
I'm ready.
You can ask.
Okay.
Let's go.
Hit me with the surf routine before getting in the water. What's it looking like?
Who, for me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I just I try to go out when I feel like I'm going to have fun. It's not that I don't have fun whenever I surf. I know people kind of said it every time, but I just see waves and I get excited. Like, there's no real routine. The only routine that I have is that I can't surf on like a full stomach. So if it's in the morning, like maybe a smoothie or something, maybe some water. I will take a quick like bottle cap worth of 5 Hour Energy with some water or something just to keep me out there a little bit. But that's really kind of my routine, stretching a little bit and getting ready. Yeah, I don't really have a routine, but it's more about, am I excited to go out or not?
Yeah.
That's kind of my thing.
For me, it's pretty much the same thing I do every morning. You know, when I get up in the morning, if it's a morning session, I'll wake up. I'll have like a mason jar full of warm water with half a lemon, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and a pinch of salt in it, and that's pretty much what carries me through until I get out of the water. You know, and it could be anywhere from, 1 hour to 5 hours later, but that's pretty much what keeps me. And I guess that the energy from the waves, is transferred onto me. So I don't get tired when I'm out there. I'm just going. When I come out of the water, that's when I'm like, oh my God, I've been out there for like 4 hours, 5 hours. I haven't eaten anything. The sun is high in the sky. As far as stretching and everything goes, anyone who knows me or knows me from Rockaway knows that I try to be as healthy as I possibly can. So I pretty much do yoga almost every day just to keep myself, because you never know when a swell might show up. Okay. So I do that, and yeah, it's really just go out, and I get excited when I see, it doesn't really have to be anything pumping and firing. It could be anything as long as it's a good wave, and I can surf it. Then I'm excited to go out. Yeah.
Favorite place to surf in the world?
I don't think I've been there. I mean, right now I really enjoy surfing Rockaway on like a good day. I think a couple of days this week or last week were just really amazing. The place just has the waves just need to be good. I really am trying to get to Bali. I haven't been there, but I think that's kind of super high on my list of places that I want to go.
So I meant to tell you about that I got this jet. Just kidding. We'll talk, Nigel.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, I just, favorite types of waves is probably a good question. For me, is just clean. I don't need it to be super big, head high, a little bit overhead, just down the line. Probably a little bit steeper than mellow for me. I like the kind of power behind that. But that's it, Warm water. Mm-hmm. Warm water is a big plus.
For me, it's a little bit different. It's not really the wave. I mean, yes, of course, it's the wave, but at the same time, it's the people around me. So I have surfed, Costa Rica, I've surfed in Australia, I've surfed in Alaska, and I've surfed in Peru, and all these places were like just had something special. Each place had something special. When I speak about Morocco, I'll never forget, like, Morocco had some great waves, even though the waves were going in the wrong direction. They were all rights. But, the people there were just so amazing. And I remember this one woman, just like I was in this little fishing village surfing, and this one woman just literally grabs me and she says in Arabic that I'm too skinny, and she takes me home and feeds me. So that, and then when I was in Mexico, just hanging out with some of the locals, and they were just like, the vibe was just like so amazing. So I think a lot of it is just the people, like Nigel, I prefer warm water because, this weather we have coming up, this ain't natural for me, but I prefer warm water. But yeah, it's really my thing.
Cool. Listen, Mosiah, it has been a pleasure having you here, learning a little bit more about you, learning a little bit more about the project. We look forward to kind of seeing its completion. I'm getting really excited to see it. Please don't forget to support the project. We'll try to put some posts or some directions on how they can do that in the post when we do it.
Yep.
But yeah, man, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come on. It's been a pleasure knowing you. It's been a pleasure kind of working with you. You're a gentleman and a scholar, as they say. So just again, thank you so much for being on the WeSurf podcast. We really appreciate having you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I'm echoing everything Nigel says, and to our listeners, again, like I said, we've been away for a bit, but we are back, and look forward. And we've mentioned Station so many times during this podcast. Feel free, just stop by. You don't have to be there to do anything surf related. Just stop by and talk, and and we do have some locker space still left over. So if you need to store your board, winter is coming, so you have that space over there. But yeah, thank you so much for sticking with us, and see you guys on the next one.
See you next time.
Thanks.
All right, bye.